and then in the textbook, so whatever it is you have with you, you will read it from there. But those pages what I have sent, you have to take down the uh, required things, because certain things extra also have said for those children who will be further preparing for the other exams. So that is also important. So they can note down that thing, but tRNA mRNA का structure वो complete करके then you will start with the enzymes. So enzymes, what are enzymes? So last period we discussed a little bit. I will start with the presentation. So how much you are remembering about the enzymes? Raj, I want to know that why you keep leaving, कि आपकी connectivity सही नहीं मिल पाती है. Raj, Raj, can you tell me something? Are you there, Raj? Unmute your mic and then speak
हाँ,
up. तो राज ने अभी ज्वाइन किया है, he was out. हाँ राज, I can see you joining with two different. Raj, you are using two devices or what?
yes, ma'am.
Rumisha, so till RNA, everything is clear to you?
Yes,
हाँ
ma'am.
राज, आपका माइक काम कर रहा है तो बोलिए.
Yes, ma'am.
आई एम वेटिंग टू. हाँ बोलिए.
Ma'am, your voice is not clear.
अच्छा, you are not able to hear me. Neha, am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Rumisha, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Barbie,
Yes, ma'am.
अच्छा ठीक है. फिर राज को ही दिक्कत होती है. राज इज नॉट अटेंडिंग द क्लासेस प्रॉपरली. आई एम नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम. So I just want to talk to him. ठीक है, रितु has also joined. अच्छा ठीक है, whatever, let him come, then I'll talk to him. So we have in the biomolecules, whatever we have completed till the last period, I hope you have started preparing. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Neha said to send that. Okay, that pages I forgot to send. Okay, today I will send it. Okay, so you will have the test on the third period of this week. And when is that third period of this week?
Thursday.
थर्सडे. ठीक है, तो आज मंडे है, थर्सडे तक आपका ये पूरा चैप्टर, दैट इज योर बायोमोलिक्यूल्स, यू हैव टू प्रिपेयर. तो स्टार्ट प्रिपेयरिंग. दोज हु आर नॉट प्रिपेयरिंग, दे कैन स्टार्ट प्रिपेयरिंग. जिनने स्टार्ट कर दिया था, इट्स वेरी नाइस. So you have to prepare, and all the time I have been telling that what topics are important. So those things you have to take it very seriously, practice them properly. The diagrams you have to practice, and you will be writing the descriptive test. Okay, on Thursday. Clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Ritu heard. Ritu, Ritu, unmute your mic and speak up if you are able to hear me. Ritu, am I audible? Ritu, are you there?
Yes.
Rumisha?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ रितु, is my voice not audible? हाँ, I am not able to hear you रितु. अभी सुनाई दिया, अभी आपका माइक भी अनम्यूट हुआ. Previously the mic was not on. Yes, you can speak up now, Ritu. See, Raj is leaving and joining, leaving and joining. Ritu also left. Okay, so I'm presenting my screen, children.
Ma'am, I have a doubt.
You can put. हाँ, Rumisha, say that.
Ma'am, in a book there is a statement, hence the living state is a non-equilibrium steady state to be able to perform work. Ma'am, what does this mean?
Again you read it. Again you read it.
Hence the living state is a non-equilibrium steady state to be able to perform work. Ma'am, what does
Okay.
this
Now
mean?
try to understand. You know very well what is equilibrium. Okay, equilibrium is the state where you find that the things become stable. Okay, balance बन जाता है, उसको अपन equilibrium बोलते हैं. Now in our body, when the functioning is going on, we are not reaching at the state of equilibrium, because all the time, now try to think, all the time in the cells the oxidation is going on, so the food will be needed for that oxidation process, वो कम होता जाएगा. अब यहाँ कम हो रहा है तो वहां पर आपको न्यूट्रिशन लेना भी जरूरी है. Okay, you will keep taking the food, and the food will be continuously supplied to the cells, and then it will be oxidized. So you are finding that whenever we are reaching at the state of equilibrium, and since we are not reaching at the state of equilibrium, the functioning of the body is going on. Followed up, if you are feeling hungry, never it happens that you are satisfied. Okay, after an hour, you are again hungry. Are you getting what I'm saying? Okay, never it is like that, that the excretion process will stop. The metabolism is going on, so ammonia will be released, and that ammonia is released all the time. It will be filtered out. It has to be converted into urea. It has to be filtered out by the kidneys. So you find that all the processes are continuously going on, because we are not reaching at the state of equilibrium. अगर कभी ऐसा हो कि हमारी भूख खत्म हो जाए, हमारे सारे सेल्स में न्यूट्रिशन पहुंच गया, खत्म. डज इट हैपन एवर? Rumisha, are you getting what I'm
No,
saying?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It doesn't. हाँ, it doesn't happen. आपको बात समझ में आ रही है? नेहा, देवांशी, are you understanding? So this statement is saying that only. Okay, repeat the sentence now once again.
Hence the living state is a non-equilibrium steady state
हाँ,
to be able to
living
perform
state.
work.
Yes, slowly, slowly. Living state is a
Non-equilibrium
non-equilibrium,
steady state
steady state. Non-equilibrium steady state. Okay, it will never reach the equilibrium state. And then further, what it is saying,
to be able to perform work.
to be able to perform work. Did you understand what I said just now? अगर हम इक्विलिब्रियम के स्टेट पर पहुंच गए तो फिर आगे कोई काम की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी. Followed everyone? So never the body function will stop. Till the life is going on, the functions will be continuing. All the metabolic functions will continue. Rumisha, now clear to you the statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we will, so presentation, can you see my screen, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we are starting with the enzymes topic. And last time I showed you some video. Okay, and in that video you understood that what are enzymes. Enzymes are the chemical substances. तो इतनी बात आपको समझ में आ गई थी that they are the chemical substances, and they are proteinaceous in nature. So all the enzymes are proteinaceous in nature. You can write down in short whatever we are discussing, and then take down the things from the pages which I have sent. Okay, in that I have sent what is enzyme, what is the chemical nature of the enzyme, all that. So take down here from the slides also. Biomolecules are constantly being changed to produce new biomolecules and are also being formed from other biomolecules. This is called turnover of biomolecules. What is turnover of biomolecules? You understood everyone? कि एक फॉर्म से दूसरे फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट होता जाता है, and that is only turnover. Okay, and when it is changing from one form to other, that reaction or that change will require the enzymes. The conversion of biomolecules involves the chemical reactions, and these all chemical reactions together we call it as metabolism. So last time we discussed that metabolism involves the two reactions. So Ritu will tell me quickly that metabolism involves which two reactions? Ritu, are you remembering what we discussed last time? Ritu has come or not?
Flickering in between.
Okay, Bharti, can you tell me what are the two reactions involved in the metabolism?
Anabolic reaction and
Yes, very good. Anabolic
catabolic reaction.
catabolism. So this is very important. I can ask you in 2 marks, children, that what is anabolism, what is catabolism, and collectively what is it called. So the anabolism. So what is the meaning of anabolism, Rubisha? Can you tell me?
The process of building up of organic substances or synthesis of organic
Yeah,
substances.
yeah, that is the synthesis of the different chemical compounds. We call it as the anabolism. And what is catabolism then, Neha?
It is the breaking down of organic substances.
Yeah, that is in the body, certain breakdown is going on. So all those breakdown reactions, we will call it as the catabolic reactions. So can you give me the example of anabolism and the catabolism, or the anabolic reaction and catabolic reaction, Neha?
Ma'am, digestion is a catabolic process,
Yes.
and
Anabolic process then. Devanshi, can you tell me quickly anabolic reaction? Devanshi,
deposition of fat.
deposition of fat. Okay. Then what else? Any other example? So fat molecules get deposited there. ठीक है. Then any other example?
Increase in muscle mass,
Increase in muscle mass. Okay. Then what else?
growth,
Growth. Okay. Cell division हो रहा है. That is there. Then what else? Related to your digestion, only one process is there.
Ma'am, formation of glycogen.
Formation of glycogen from glycogen is formed from. अब बताइए जल्दी बोल दीजिए. Glycogen, we have discussed all that. Glycogen is formed from the endocrine system. We have done, so we just discussed that. Glycogen is formed from the, anyone who knows, who is remembering, can speak up.
glucose,
ग्लूकोज, बिल्कुल ठीक है. ग्लूकोज का कन्वर्जन, excess glucose gets converted into glycogen and stored in the liver. Okay, so these are all. Now remember your process of respiration, children. Respiration में ग्लूकोज का breakdown होता है, मतलब ऑक्सीडेशन होता है, and you find that the ATP synthesis takes place. So that is involving your respiration, cellular respiration is involving the catabolic reactions also and the anabolic reaction also. So that we discussed in the last period, which you are not telling me. ATP synthesis पूरा दिखाया था. Did you all note down that in the previous period or not? Note किया था किसी ने? That is a reversible reaction. ATP converting into ADP and giving energy, and then ADP taking up the energy and combining with one inorganic phosphate and forming ATP. Okay, so now try to sorry, see the slides. The carbohydrate, it is showing that the glucose will be formed, then glucose, the triglycerides will get converted into the fatty acids after the digestion. Proteins will break up into amino acids. So these all three, you find they are the small carbon chains, and these glucose or amino acids, fatty acids, they will be acting as the respiratory substrate. All the three. Remember, children, these will be acting as respiratory substrates, and the, they will be oxidized by or during the cellular respiration, and the reaction involved will be the chain of reactions, and those chain of reactions are occurring in the cyclic way, so we call it as a Krebs cycle. And then Krebs cycle further, you find that the NAD, FAD which will be produced will enter into the electron transport chain. तो इधर पर आपको समझना है कि Krebs cycle में, ETC में, in both the cases, that is the part of the respiration, you find the breakdown is also going on and ATP synthesis is also going on. So this is a metabolic process. इसीलिए अपन बोलते हैं इसको respiration is your metabolic process. Okay, your digestion is a metabolic process. Okay, because it is involving some breakdown and some synthesis. Now, transformation of the molecule. So here some slides. This slide is showing you some metabolic transformations which change one biomolecule into another. So decarboxylation of amino acid to form amine. Then the second example is deamination of a nucleotide base. That is a cytosine where ammonia is getting removed, so it is becoming uracil. By the deamination of the cytosine, uracil is formed. Then formation of the disaccharides from the simple sugars. So this will be coming under the anabolic process where you find the glucose and the fructose, they combine together. Which bond is formed between this glucose and fructose? Ritu, can you tell me which bond will be formed between the glucose and the fructose? Neha, remembering which bond is formed between the glucose and the fructose?
Glycosidic bond.
Glycosidic bond. What is that glycosidic bond? Uh, Bond formed between which carbon atoms? Can you tell me? We have discussed the numbers. Bond is formed between.
Ma'am, the first carbon of one monosaccharide with the fourth carbon of second monosaccharide.
Very good. Okay, so always remember it is 1,4 glycosidic linkage or 1,4 glycosidic bond. That's very important, children. It can be asked in the exam for short question. So you have made this structure before also? Yes or no? If you don't have, you can make it again. This is an example. This one you don't have. Cytosine, the deamination is going on, and you get the uracil. Are you all making or should I change the slide? Speak up children, conversation चलते रहना चाहिए. Otherwise it becomes, I don't get an idea. Are you all making?
We are making.
If you are making, so you can just speak up that weight we are making so that I can wait. नहीं तो समझ नहीं आता है. You can take down the examples. These are your disaccharide from simple sugar anabolic reaction. So if I asked in the exam that give the examples of the anabolic reactions, so you can give this example. You can explain the anabolic reaction by giving the same what we have done in the case of proteins, that is your formation of the peptide. That can also be given as an example. So one biomolecule is changing into another. As you finish, tell me. Done all of yours? You can see here, children, in the cytosine, this NH2 is removed, and in place of it, we are getting only O by the double bond. Completed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, wait.
Okay, I'll show you once again. Done? Now, metabolic pathways. Now, I want Rumisha to read out.
The metabolic transformation normally occur in a series of interrelated reaction in a multi-stepped process. This is called as metabolic pathway. Example, glycolysis, a 10-step process to convert glucose into pyruvic acid.
Okay. So all have understood this chapter when we will start with the plant physiology, children. In that, the cellular respiration and the photosynthesis is there. So you will understand what are the metabolic pathway. So I hope you got an idea what is metabolic pathway. अगर series of reactions होते हैं एक के बाद एक to give you some product, it is not a single step process. You call it as a pathway. So glycolysis is one pathway. Glycolysis एक step वो आपको हमने बताया था that glycolysis is the process of conversion of the 6 carbon compound glucose into the 3 carbon compound pyruvic acid. Okay, so we did last time. During that aerobic anaerobic respiration, I discussed all this. That first step is glycolysis, and then after that you find the uh, pyruvic acid enters into the mitochondria, and then it will be converted into carbon dioxide and the water vapor, giving you the energy. So this first step is the glycolysis, and since it is not a one step process, so many reactions occur, and you call it as that is glycolytic pathway also, this is known as, or metabolic pathway, glycolysis. So anabolic pathways, what is the difference between the two? They have given two types of the pathways are there, anabolic pathway, catabolic pathway. So just for your understanding, I want now the Devanshi to read it.
Anabolic pathway, formation of glucose compounds from simple compounds. For example,
Complex compounds.
yes, ma'am.
Huh?
For
Read it one.
example, formation of complex compounds from simple compounds. For example, glycogenesis, conversion of glucose into glycogen. Second, protein synthesis, amino acids into protein, and
Okay,
energy is consumed in these processes.
correct.
Catabolic pathway, breakdown of complex compounds to simpler compounds. For example, glycolysis, glucose is converted into pyruvic acid. Second, breakdown of proteins into amino acids. Energy is liberated in these processes.
Okay. So remember, children, I can give you in the exam that write the differences between the anabolic pathway and the catabolic pathway. So very simple it is. The examples are given, and you know these examples. You can write it in brief. I am taking up to the next slide. Do you all have noted everyone? Noted
Ma'am,
or not?
wait.
Acha, okay. So note it down. Formation of the complex compounds from simple. You call it as anabolic, and breakdown of the complex compounds to simple compounds. That will be catabolic pathway. So two examples they have given, the glycogenesis and glycolysis, and protein synthesis and the breakdown of proteins.
Done, ma'am.
Done na? Okay, everyone has done. Barbie completed.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, anabolism and catabolism. So, digestion and respiration are examples of processes showing interrelated anabolic and catabolic pathways. Now, remember, children, this is given in your textbook also. So, those reactions, those processes which are involving the anabolism also and the catabolism also, we call it as amphibolism. Okay, so that's given ingested macromolecules which will be digested. The products of digestion, that will be the sugar. Example, we have taken the starch, it will give you sugar. Then sugar will be used up for the respiration process. So the catabolism will take place here. Further, the glycogen they are saying. So sugars, here the sugar will form acetyl coenzyme A, and then it will give the CO2 and H2O. Further, the precursor of that macromolecule they are saying, so here the anabolism they are showing, that the same sugar may get further converted into glycogen, or it may be used up in the respiration process. So if it is a respiration, it will be a catabolic process, and if it is getting converted into glycogen, it is a anabolic process or anabolism. Then energy will be produced. So respiration is involving the breakdown plus the synthesis. So you will see in the textbook, you will read it amphibolic pathway. Understood all of you all? Examples you can note down: digestion and respiration. If any process is involved, should I write also? Amphibolic pathway. Noted all of y'all? I can give you in the exam, children. What is amphibolic pathway? Or amphibolic reaction? Noted all of y'all? So those processes which involve anabolism and catabolism both, we'll call it as amphibolism or amphibolic reaction, amphibolic process. Shall I change the slide? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now metabolic basis of the living. Now I want Neha to read out. Others try to understand.
The energy released during catabolic pathways is stored in the form of chemical bonds. It can be utilized when required for various processes. Adenosine triphosphate is a biomolecule that stores energy and is called as the energy currency of living systems.
So this everyone knows that ATP is the currency of the cell, because whatever process is going on, and if it requires energy, the ATP will provide it by breaking the third phosphate, because it is having the triphosphate. So the bond between the second and the third phosphate is the high energy bond. So bond energy of a molecule they are showing here. So whatever function, whether protein synthesis or the transportation of ions across the membranes or the muscle contraction, these all processes will require the energy. So there will be consumption of the energy which will be provided by the breakdown of the ATP to ADP. So just now what Rumisha was asking, you have to understand here. All biomolecules are present in an organism in a particular concentration, which is specific for each biomolecule. Rumisha, read out the next line.
All organisms exist in steady state wherein the concentration of these metabolites are maintained constant.
Hmm. Further.
No work can be done in a state of equilibrium. Living systems are constantly performing work, hence they are not in a state of equilibrium.
So all have understood that if the work is going on means that the state of equilibrium is not reached. So all the living systems, they are constantly working. Okay, in our body the processes are continuously going on. Synthesis भी चल रहा है, breakdown भी चल रहा है. Okay, so that process is going on. Why? Because there is no state of equilibrium. And if once the state of equilibrium is reached, so then the process will stop. So non-equilibrium, you can make this non-equilibrium, living state, able to perform work. And steady state, so the living state is a steady state which is not at equilibrium due to constant metabolism. Write down this sentence, children. The living state is a steady state which is not at equilibrium due to constant metabolism. All have noted this? So I can give you children that one sentence, this I'll give you and I'll say comment upon it or explain. तो जो क्वेश्चंस बोलते हैं ना वो भी वहाँ क्यू क्यू करके लिखते जाया करो तो सो दैट यू अंडरस्टैंड because we will not be writing that way. I will never give that do these questions in the fair notebook. Okay, 11th class onwards, while teaching only the questions are discussed. Ritu understood? So Rumisha, now that statement is very clear to you, I hope.
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ, noted this much. जैसे ही इक्विलिब्रियम स्टेट में आएंगे तो सारे प्रोसेसेस स्टॉप हो जाएंगे तो नेवर इट विल हैपन इन द लिविंग कंडीशन. Now we'll come up to the next thing, that is enzymes. जितने भी anabolic process है, जितने भी catabolic process है, they all require what?
Enzymes.
Enzymes. Remember, none of the anabolic process or the catabolic process can occur in the absence of enzymes. Remember children, अगर ATP का breakdown होना है ADP में to produce the energy, you find the enzyme ATPase will be needed. Okay, so this way you can understand कि कोई भी ऐसा step नहीं है अगर ATP break हो रहा है to give you the ADP. That's what it will give? Inorganic phosphate. We write small I and capital P, inorganic phosphate. ADP plus. Okay, so ATP will get converted into ADP plus inorganic phosphate, and this reaction will involve which enzyme? What enzyme I said?
ATPase.
ATPase. Okay, the name of the enzyme is ATPase. So when we were doing that muscle contraction, I hope you are remembering that. Okay, इसका मतलब है कि हमारे लिविंग सिस्टम में कोई भी रिएक्शन, whether it is an anabolic reaction or it is a catabolic reaction, it will not occur in the absence of enzymes. So in living system, all chemical reactions are catalyzed by the compounds called as enzymes. They are regulators of the metabolic pathways. They are also called biocatalysts. So remember children that they are known as the biocatalysts. Now properties of enzymes. This is very important question. For the 3 marks I can ask, sometimes for the 5 marks also it can be given, that what are the properties of enzymes, and I have sent those pages also children. अभी आप लिखते जाइए और फिर वो बुक में देख के जो pages I have sent, that also you see it and write it in the notebook. Okay, very important feature of the enzyme. First property of the enzyme is that they are proteins. They are proteinaceous in nature. All enzymes are chemically proteins. Number 2 property, that some nucleic acids also act as catalysts in certain reactions. Then the examples of enzymes made up of proteins, amylase, trypsin, pepsin. Non-protein is the ribozymes. Then they are produced by the living cells only. Second feature. First feature याद रखिए that they are proteinaceous in nature. Number 2, they are produced by the living cells. No dead organism or dead non-living component, non-living system will not produce any enzyme. The enzymes are produced by the living cells. Number 3, they have got the 3D structure. enzymes have got a three-dimensional tertiary structure where it will have, you find the catalytic site or the active site, we call it, or substrate binding site is present. ओके, तो यहाँ पर देखो फिगर में ये ब्लू कलर का दिखाया है, दिस इज द एंजाइम which is having the 3D structure and then the above one is the substrate. तो substrate क्या करता है, एंजाइम से बाइंड होता है and that part of the enzyme to which the substrate is binding, we call it as the active site or the catalytic site of the enzyme molecule. And once it binds, remember this is the first step in the action or the mechanism of action of the enzyme. How do they work? How the enzymes work? The substrate will bind with the enzyme molecule and will form the enzyme substrate complex. The enzymes are substrate and pH specific, very very important property that they show specificity. They show different types of specificity, so try to read those pages. अभी अपन फास्ट कर रहे हैं, याद रखना वो जो पेजेस दिए हैं वो सब then next period I will be asking. So you will prepare yourself now. Catalyze reversible reactions. So enzymes can catalyze the reversible reactions. Enzymes catalyze reactions at higher rate by lowering the activation energy. So remember this important feature, that how do they work? So how do they accelerate the rate of reaction? So they lower the activation energy. Write it in brief, they lower the activation energy. So how many points you have got? Number one, they are proteins. Number two, produced by living cells. Number three, they have the 3D structure. Noted? Number four, they are specific. They show specificity. So different types of specificity they show. Substrate specificity, then group specificity they show, then pH specificity they show. Noted everyone? And they lower the activation energy. So this we will not discuss. So we have completed today what is enzyme and what are the properties of enzymes and what is metabolic reaction. What do you mean by the anabolic and the catabolic reactions? Why it is said that in the living system never the equilibrium is attained. And if the equilibrium is attained, then the metabolic processes will stop. So this way all this is important to you and any type of questions can be asked. So I'm stopping the presentation, children. Now your work will be write down the questions. Questions you can note down and go prepare करेंगे आप. I will ask these questions next period. Number one, what are enzymes? Number two, write the properties of enzymes. You will read those pages and you will write it in your notebook. Number three, what do you mean by amphibolic pathways? Written? That's all.
Ma'am, can you please repeat the last question?
What do you mean by amphibolic pathway? Explain. Amphibolic pathway. Explain. So now we'll do Shanti part, children. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Right up, children. You can leave now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
welcome.
Sairam, ma'am.
Thank you,
Sai Ram.
ma'am.
Sai Ram.